Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this year's SaltConf20 Virtually Everywhere Keynote presentation. Please welcome the co-founder of Salt and the new Senior Director of Business Development at VMware, Mark Chen.
Hello to everyone joining us today for SaltConf20. And good morning to those of us in North and South America. Good evening to everyone in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And if you're joining us from Asia, Australia, India, or any other corner of the world, thank you for attending late night or early morning. We're thrilled to have such an international audience with us. Today is SaltStack's 7th annual user conference, SaltConf20, Virtually Everywhere. We called it Virtually Everywhere because for the first time, we're bringing together the entire SaltStack community in the same place at the same time. While I wish that we could be doing this in person, we're still thrilled to have everyone with us virtually. And I'm even more excited to kick off the events of the day. In just a few minutes, I'll provide a glimpse into one of SaltStack's most high-profile engagements to date, highlighting how the one and only BMW harnesses the immense power of SaltStack's event-driven automation to fuel the company's transformation into the future. Then you will hear from Tom Hatch, the creator of SaltStack, my co-founder and the CTO of SaltStack, and now the new director of SaltStack engineering at VMware, who will be joined by Purnima Padmanabhan, vice president and general manager of the automation group at VMware. Together, they will offer insight into how SaltStack is being integrated into VMware and how our companies together will form the foundation of the future of cloud automation. But before that, I have a few more thoughts I'd like to convey. It's hard for me to believe that we launched SaltStack only 8 years ago, and how much has changed in that period of time. Particularly, in the past year, 2020 has forever changed our lives. While I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the challenges that this year has brought, the pandemic, economic volatility, political uncertainty, there's a silver lining. With this event going virtual, we're able to bring together a larger group than ever before. Our first SaltConf was held in 2014, where we had roughly 150 attendees. Today, we're expecting thousands. At that time, we were a few years old as a company, with just over a dozen employees. But we had an incredibly strong vision for what Salt, SaltStack, and SaltConf could ultimately become. Solutions to improve the lives of our users through intelligent automation. In 2020, we've truly achieved that vision, which has only been made possible by the hard work and dedication of the SaltStack team, our investors, our partners, collaborators, and most importantly, you, the community. In the past 8 years, what Tom Hatch created as a simple configuration management tool, Salt, has blossomed into a robust and powerful cloud automation suite, delivering the unparalleled ability to control and secure IT systems across the entire enterprise. From IT ops to SecOps, we're innovating new ways to apply intelligent automation to make the IT ecosystem more manageable, more performant, and more secure. And now that we're joining forces with VMware, we look forward to empowering more users in more markets with better automation solutions than ever before. SaltStack's users, our community, has always given us purpose. Dedication to you is one of our most important corporate values. In return, you've embraced our technologies. You've cemented the legacy of Salt and SaltStack through the fabric of innovation that underpins industry today. Because of this, SaltStack has had the opportunity to work with some of the most sophisticated IT organizations in the modern economy, some of which we'll talk about throughout today's conference. But in this moment, I want to acknowledge how important our community of open source users have been to making Salt and SaltStack what they've become. We have one of the most prolific open source communities in the entire world, which will live on within VMware and its solid commitment to the community. Now, one of the reasons SaltStack and VMware have come together so naturally is because we share so many values, stewardship of open source being one of the many. Without the steadfast support of our community of users, which includes nearly 3,000 contributors on GitHub and more than 100,000 commits in addition to our commercial user base, none of our recent successes would have been possible. In 2020 alone, SaltStack received nearly 15 different industry awards, including a prestigious SC award at RSA 2020, on top of countless features and references in the press and analyst reports, all that have contributed to the momentum that the company has experienced, and as we look to 2021 alongside of our compatriots at VMware. Without fail, 2020 has tested the limits of SaltStack, and we've proven that we can continue to fulfill our mission, enabling our users to overcome whatever IT challenges come their way, and thrive in the face of adversity through intelligent automation. All the years of building resilient technologies and resilient IT systems, all the battle tests and blood, sweat, and tears have led us to forging a fruitful partnership with VMware, one that was many years in the making. Our acquisition was the very natural culmination of that relationship, and while SaltStack will inevitably change, our shared vision and mission will not. Now we have the opportunity to extend our vision, to create an even greater impact on the industry, to take our technology, our community, our people, and to turn it into what will become the automation underpinning of the vRealize suite, VMware's solution for automated hybrid cloud operations. Together with VMware, SaltStack will amplify the breadth and depth of the capabilities we've built over the last 8 years and apply those resources and expertise to expand access to intelligent automation to customers everywhere. We will ensure that our customers will be able to maintain the success and impact that they've delivered to their own organizations using SaltStack, and that we can bring that success to a greater number of enterprises across the world. Before I conclude, I want to share a real-world example of the way SaltStack enables businesses to tap into the power of automation. While we've achieved many great outcomes with organizations across the corporate spectrum, perhaps none have been quite as impressive as our work with BMW.
Earlier this year, I took a trip to Europe to visit a number of customers, partners, and prospects. One great prospect that I spent time with was BMW Group in Munich, who were looking to do something really quite interesting with SaltStack. This is a customer story that I'm really excited to share with you today. From prospect to customer, I'd like to welcome BMW Group and thank them for joining SaltConf20 from Germany. Now, today, I'm pleased to be joined by both Lars and Max, who are cloud solution architects and software engineers from the BMW Group.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having us.
Hey, I'm Lars. Thanks for having us.
Now, Max and Lars, since we met in the spring, can you bring me and the audience up to speed and tell us a little bit more about your team and what you're doing with SaltStack at BMW?
Sure, Mark, and thanks for the nice introduction. So the BMW Group is, of course, well known for manufacturing premium cars and motorcycles. In order to be able to build those premium vehicles, we require sophisticated IT systems. This is where our team comes in. A vital part of our daily business is to connect the robots and machines sitting in the shop floor to connect them to the cloud or to our on-prem data centers. Our IT strategy is cloud first, but from a security and network perspective, it does make sense to have some parts of the application to run as close as possible to our machines on the shop floor. This approach is called edge computing.
Yeah, and to make that happen in a large scale, we at BMW Group develop and implement IT solutions with a clear focus on user centricity. And our team, for example, is building a self-service platform called the BMW Edge Store, where we enable business departments to manage their industrial IoT devices by themselves and deploy applications to them. And of course, a really crucial application in the backend is SaltStack, which also helps us to meet the IT goals of 100% automation or zero downtime. And the real cool thing is that we were able to onboard multiple plants from our central office in Munich in the last year.
Wow, that's incredible progress. SaltStack is a powerful and extensible automation platform, and while it's traditionally known for infrastructure automation, we're seeing more and more businesses utilize it for IoT and industrial IoT in particular. Max and Lars, how did you find SaltStack, and how was the decision made to use it as part of the solution in your project?
Well, when I think how we first got in contact with SaltStack software, it felt like a natural fit as we as developers at the BMW Group use and contribute more and more to open source software. For instance, we are an active and founding member of the Open Manufacturing Platform, which not only uses open source software, but also contributes to and shares code on GitHub.
Yeah, that's right, Max. And another important reason was the modern event-driven message queue-based and highly scalable architecture, which aligns quite well to our IT strategy we are having at the BMW Group. What I love is defining state ones and applying them in a deterministic way on several industrial IoT devices at the same time. Yeah, that's a very, very huge plus for us. Last but not least, and especially in industrial IoT scenarios, security is a topic which needs to be addressed in a very professional manner. And the enterprise features SaltStack provides helps us to keep our system compliant and patch vulnerabilities within minutes. So yeah, we really love that.
Tremendous. How is this new SaltStack solution impacting your team and the BMW business?
Yeah, as you said, it's impacting both, like our team and the business. Yeah, we see the impact on several levels. So first, we're able to cut down operation costs by shifting responsibilities to the business side by providing comprehensive self-service functionalities. And the automation of SaltStack is key here.
Yeah, that's what enables us to have up-to-date and centrally managed IT systems. And if we look at the feedback we get from the business, they like how we are able to enforce the compliance standards on each of the rolled out industrial IoT devices. And each provisioned device looks exactly as the one before, and that at a large scale. But that's only the technical side. We also experience some impact on the way how we are able to support the business with their daily processes. SaltStack is that extensible that we easily can meet the business requirements fastly and in an efficient manner.
Fantastic. So what's next for BMW and SaltStack?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, our journey together started early this year, and we had and still have weekly sync calls with decent architectural discussions. And I think both sides take the benefit of these meetings. On the one hand, SaltStack gains insights in industrial IoT use cases, the needs and processes around it. And we as the BMW Group gain insights in how an efficient and highly scalable IT infrastructure automation could look like.
That's correct, Max. And as we now have this foundation or established our basic processes for our platform, we will now shift the focus towards building up a high availability setup with SaltStack. The reason for that is that we need to support production critical systems in the future, so our team. And this will include, of course, running parts of those applications on the edge devices, so on the industrial IoT devices, but also running parts of it in our on-prem data centers, where we already relying on other VM products and not just only SaltStack. So it's a quite good fit here.
Excellent. I want to thank Max and Lars once again for joining us at SaltConf20, and we look forward to seeing the future of innovation with SaltStack at BMW. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
After that, I think we should have made our slogan, the ultimate automation machine. With that, I want to thank you for being a part of SaltStack's community and participating in our best SaltConf to date, SaltConf20. I hope you enjoy the rest of our sessions and panels today. With no further ado, please give a warm SaltStack welcome to the king of SaltConf himself, Tom Hatch, and Purnima Padmanabhan, Vice President and General Manager of Automation at VMware. We look forward to continuing our work with all of you in the future. My best to you.
I'm really excited for us to have yet another SaltConf this year, but I also know what's on everyone's minds. We had some really major announcements come in not too long ago about SaltStack being acquired by VMware. I wanted to present today not just on what's happening inside of the acquisition of SaltStack by VMware, but I want to talk a little bit about the journey. If we go back in time to when I started working on Salt in my basement many years ago, it was February of 2011. I remember some of my original motivations. My aspirations were not to be where I am now. To be honest, if you had told me then that I was going to create a company that was going to be acquired by VMware, I would have said that that is the most ridiculous outcome I could possibly imagine. When I started, I just wanted to write automation software. I just wanted to write some software that I could use again, and I just wanted to be able to maybe get a better job. So, as I continued to develop Salt as an open source project, in the first months, nobody noticed. And I remember thinking to myself that nobody knows who I am, nobody cares. And I'm just enjoying the fact that I get to write software and have some fun. But later that year, around November, I did a podcast. And that reached a new audience. This was a brand new thing to a lot of people. In that podcast, I actually made the statement that Salt can do anything that a world-class configuration management engine can do. I look back at that and think about how aggressively I'd overstepped my bounds. I had only just gotten Salt to the point where it was able to do configuration management at all. But even then, even in 2011, we started to see people use Salt in the wild and in a big way. It was already managing infrastructures and data centers with thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of systems. I was shocked when I found out that people were actually using this thing that I was making in my basement. Admittedly shocked and even a little terrified. I had a stack of servers next to my laptop that I was able to fire up and emulate larger environments on, just to see how far I could get the thing to work. I could emulate about 10,000 servers on my little stack of hardware. But as 2012 rolled around, the company I was working for at the time went out of business, and I decided to make a company out of this. I went out and found Mark, and together we went and we raised our first round of funding. It was really incredible when we opened up our first office and hired our first 3 engineers, 2 of whom are still with us today. Big shout out to Joseph Hall and Dave Boucher. We opened up a small office. It was just one large room with a small office off to the side, set it up with some IKEA tables, and got to work. Very quickly we realized that we had a fantastic open source project, but we didn't know what to do from a money perspective. How are we going to make money with this? And I had to step back and rethink, what does monetization mean? What does it mean to take something which is in an open source environment and then turn that into something that we are able to drive revenue from? My early attempts didn't work out so well. Services can only get you so far. And after a few years, we realized that we were going to have to build proprietary software to sell. But at the same time, we had to ask questions. Who are we going to be selling it to? We wouldn't want to sell to the same people that are already using it. They're already fulfilled with the software. And I stepped back and looked at a lot of other open source monetization strategies. So I realized that it has a lot to do with the persona and what different people want from the software that they're using. What are the goals that they're trying to reach? When I had been developing Salt originally, my view of it was that I wanted to make an automation platform that was flexible enough to deal with multiple data centers and multiple situations. I wanted to really express the fact that once you've seen one data center deployment, you've seen one data center deployment. They're all so incredibly different. And then I felt that the only way to solve those problems was through a massive amount of flexibility and optionality. But at the same time, as I stepped back and started to look at things from that monetization perspective, I realized that that's not a really good way to monetize. You need to be able to find out a specific flow and model to solve a problem for someone as transparently and easily as possible, so that someone who doesn't necessarily know a whole lot about an infrastructure or an environment is able to simply log in and make it work. And so that's where we came back and decided to start working on SaltStack Enterprise. We realized again that we needed to sell to a peripheral audience from our core user, and that would also create an insular scenario for our core user and our core contributor. I wanted to make sure that whatever we did would not hinder the development of Salt and the growth of the Salt community, but that it would only be empowering to more people inside of these companies. In doing so, with the enterprise product, we decided to make it a completely separate code base, a completely separate product that is an add-on to Salt to extend its power. Not just to extend its power from a raw functionality perspective, but to extend it into the reach and usability of a different audience, so that someone would be able to go into a NOC and have the visibility and execution capability into the infrastructure that they didn't have before. That someone would be able to present from a business perspective what it is that's going on inside of an infrastructure. Our enterprise platform grew and began to get more adoption and more sales. We were excited at the fact that we were able to sell proprietary software. And we were also excited at just how pleased so many of our customers were with what we were able to deliver. But at the same time, that we were able to deliver it in a way that didn't hinder the continued development of our open source software. As we move forward, we continue to ask these questions. What is it? What is the buyer persona? Who is the person who has struggles that we can solve with Salt? This became an easy question for us to answer because we had such a rich set of experiences from our own community. This is where the SecOps component of Salt really came into its own, because we were able to begin to see that vast gap that exists between the cybersecurity teams and the infrastructure teams. As I dove into it, it became more and more apparent that the security issues that we're dealing with today have so much to do with human communication and solving human problems in a gulf that hasn't been addressed. And that Salt and SaltStack could do it in a new and unique way. This shift changed how we were able to really approach this situation. And this shift allowed us to be able to rethink how security should be focused inside of these organizations. And so the end result was that we were able to deliver SaltStack, comply, and protect. And that with them, we've been able to accelerate the security of many, many infrastructures. Now, as we move forward, I started to map out what's it going to take for us to be able to really address what's going on inside of these infrastructures and what's going on with respect to all of the challenges that we need to address, but also what's going on with respect to the continued development of software at SaltStack. So to do this, I stepped back and realized that Salt does so much that to really be able to express the capability and the power that we have inside of Salt, I needed so much more than what we could ever build as the company SaltStack. We had a situation where we were approached by numerous companies with an interest in acquisition. And VMware was one of those. I have to be honest, at first glance, I was extremely skeptical of VMware. I had always viewed them as a very proprietary software company, and I feared that they would not understand our engineering culture or necessarily understand our open source culture. I was surprised, very pleasantly surprised, as I began to work with VMware to find out just how aligned we were with them, but also to be able to find out the breadth and the depth of just how much we were able to do together, and just how much our software could augment and enhance so many things inside of VMware. As we move forward, it became apparent that we were going to be able to work with VMware to push a huge amount of functionality and features into VMware software, that we would be able to slide in with their teams in a smooth way, and that their engineering-focused culture would be something that would be a boon to SaltStack. I was also pleasantly surprised to find out just how much more VMware had been engaged in open source, and also that they'd been engaged in open source in a way that I felt was much better aligned with the ideals of open source than I've seen from many corporations over the years. And so that excitement continued to grow, not only for me, but also for my team inside of SaltStack. And so I was very excited to be able to join VMware only a few weeks ago and start working full-time on the future of Salt, but in a bigger way, with new accelerants and with an incredible team inside of VMware. Now, I'd like to share with you a short video about what VMware is going to be providing to SaltStack and what SaltStack's going to be providing to VMware.
You can't predict the future, but a resilient business can be ready for it. A digital foundation from VMware helps you redefine what's possible now. From the hospital shifting to remote patient care in just 48 hours, to the university moving hundreds of apps quickly to the cloud, or the city government going digital to keep critical services running. You are creating the future on the fly, and we are helping you do it. VMware, realize what's possible.
Now, I'm very excited to introduce my new boss, something I'm very happy to have. Someone who's become a good friend and one of the major champions for the acquisition of Salt inside of VMware, Purnima Padmanabhan.
Thanks, Tom, for the warm introduction. And big welcome to you, Mark, and the entire SaltStack team to VMware. I also want to welcome the broader Salt community to VMware. I'm excited about the possibilities of what we can do together. Over the last few months, especially in the era of COVID, I have seen the transformational power of technology. Right here at VMware, I have seen VMware technology enable healthcare organizations to put new websites, to be able to put new contact tracing software. I have seen pharmaceutical companies accelerate drug discovery with rapid deployment of AI machine workloads. And I have seen government organizations, schools, and even enterprises do remote learning and remote work, all made possible by the underlying power of virtualization and cloud technologies. VMware's goal is to enable that business agility by truly driving digital transformation. We enable organizations to build, run, connect, manage, and secure their applications and their software anywhere, any device, any cloud. What it means is that there is a lot of complexity in driving new software and building new applications. But VMware takes over the job of removing all that complexity. And when you think about it, automation is a very key piece of the puzzle. If you want speed and agility, you have to automate. If you're able to do anything 2 times in a row, you have to automate. And VMware has truly doubled down on automation, especially with our managed portfolio. Our managed portfolio is anchored by what we call vRealize. And most recently, we also acquired a company called Cloud Health. What vRealize, and more specifically, vRealize Automation does is it allows you to take virtualization technology and offer it as a self-service consumption service across private cloud so that you can curate your IaaS and PaaS services and allow easy consumption either through API, CLI, or UI. It allows you to provision and deploy and govern applications across multiple cloud environments. It allows you to automate your DevOps and CI/CD pipelines. It allows you to automate your Kubernetes environments. So the automation is really powerful. And this is where Salt comes into picture. Salt nicely dovetails into this automation environment and augments the VMware's capability. So let me quickly describe where I think Salt fits within VMware. Tom talked to you about how VMware is critical for Salt. Let me tell you why Salt is so critical and strategic for VMware. So first of all, we love the fact that Salt is a powerful, lightweight, scalable automation engine that is built and driven on open source. This powerful open source community, the strong engagement, was the key part of the value proposition. Over the years at VMware, we have come to strongly believe that good software can be built only with strong participation from the community. Software that is secure, scalable, and enduring. The other part of the open source community is also we are able to bring the power of software to a much broader reach and have a much bigger impact. So you will see that over the last 5 years, VMware has truly doubled down on open source. With the acquisition of Heptio, we bought into Kubernetes. With the acquisition of Pivotal, we bought into Spring. And now with the acquisition of SaltStack, we are buying into the Salt community. And VMware we plan to continue to invest in open source and in the community because we believe not only we get to gain, but the broader community gets to gain from it. The second part is the fundamental philosophy on which Salt and SaltStack is built. Tom and team, right from the beginning, came up with very simple, easy approaches to automation. Everything is truly declarative. Everything can be defined as code. It is lightweight and scalable compared to the competitors, and truly built with DevOps best practices. So for us, especially when we consider modern application development environments, the combination of Kubernetes and Salt become very powerful. the combination of Kubernetes, Salt, along with vRealize truly allows us to automate the entire spectrum of environments, all the way from legacy to the Kubernetes-based modern apps. Where I see Salt augmenting are the following areas. As I mentioned, vRealize already delivers a powerful private cloud, as well as provides multi-cloud provisioning and governance. It allows you to lay down your application infrastructure. And with Salt now, customers can also lay down the last mile of software, being able to deploy, configure, manage declaratively the software on top for their applications. So the combination of Salt plus vRealize automation delivers the ability to deploy an entire application all the way from software to the infrastructure. The second area is Salt's lightweight automation engine lends itself very well to automating the rest of the infrastructure, be it networks, IoT devices, bare metal machines, or even virtualization infrastructure like VMware Cloud Foundation or VMware Cloud on AWS. Being able to automate core infrastructure workflows and core infrastructure actions means that we can deliver that value much faster to our customers. The third area is in the area of public cloud. We already have capabilities to deliver IaaS and PaaS provisioning across multiple clouds. And with Salt, we can further extend that. We can offer ability to deploy cloud accounts, cloud IAM roles, cloud policies, all through a single framework. By combining Salt's declarative approach of defining configuration with VMware's VMware Cloud templates, which are declarative approach to defining infrastructure topologies, we really have a powerful capability out to the market. And lastly, I'm also very interested in applying Salt's security automation capabilities, especially the SecOps components that Tom talked about. So with Salt, we get a powerful platform that we will continue to invest in, but we can also weave it together with many different components to deliver complete solutions. So right out of the gate, you will see Salt integrated deeply with the vRealize portfolio and specifically with vRealize automation. It'll become a key component to deliver software configuration management. In addition, we will also continue to invest in SaltStack Enterprise and SaltStack Comply and Protect and make that available in a more scalable way with the power of GTM to the entire market. So as you can see, the possibilities are endless, and we expect to continue to invest in this portfolio and integrate it with the rest of the VMware portfolio. You can hear a lot more about what we are planning to do with Salt and SaltStack integrations in a few sessions that are coming up. Right after this keynote, we have our Chief Open Source Officer, Dirk Hondel, speaking with Tom Hatch about the future of open source at VMware. And then in the afternoon, we have a session with our Alex Pei and Rajesh Agarwal talking about the integration between SaltStack Enterprise and vRealize automation. And of course, you have the expo to see more about all these demos and integration capabilities that we are bringing to market. With that, I'd like to introduce Joe Beda, a stalwart in the open source community, also the founder of Heptio and Kubernetes. He will be speaking about about his experiences being part of VMware and being part of VMware ecosystem. So thank you very much. I'm very excited about the possibilities and looking forward to connecting with the community.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Beda, and I'm a principal engineer here at VMware, working to bring together all of VMware's investments around Kubernetes. Now, my journey started when I was one of the co-founders of Kubernetes at Google. I then left and formed this startup with a good friend of mine, Craig McLucky. The startup was called Heptio. And our mission was to bring Kubernetes to enterprises and make it effective. About 2 years ago, we ended up joining VMware, and I'm still here, still working on that mission. And it's been an amazing experience, the entire thing. Now, when I think about open source, one of the things that I like to say is that you need to wear your agenda on your sleeve. When everybody knows what your goals are, what you're looking to achieve, things can really move a lot smoother and it's a lot easier to build trust. So let me just say right now that VMware believes that open source is an essential ingredient of building solutions today. By building on top of and with open source components and communities, VMware can deliver better products. We can be more successful as a company by doing this. We can deliver software that's more interoperable, more scalable, and more secure. And along the way, we can provide other opportunities for folks around the community to make it work for them, whether you're a VMware customer or not. Now, VMware and open source is an evolving story. Over the past 2 years, I've seen, as folks understand the possibilities, the ways to work together, this sort of, 1 + 1 = 3 type of situations, I've seen imaginations light up. Really, it's something amazing when folks understand the possibilities of, being on the same team, even if you're working at different companies. Now, part of this, and a big part of this, was a partnership with Dirk in the open source office here at VMware. And I heard, and I haven't seen the schedule yet, but Tom and Dirk, I believe, have a session later when they're going to be examining this in depth. And so that's something that you're not going to want to miss. Now, VMware aims to be a good open source citizen, and it's worth breaking that down a little bit. It's not just about finding those positive sum situations where everybody wins. It's about recognizing that open source is not transactional. It's not, I give this, I get that type of thing. It's really about building relationships, building trust, and having the community know that you're going to be with them for the long haul. Now, where I see this best, just because of the area that I'm working on, is around Kubernetes and the cloud native ecosystem. VMware is a contributing member of Kubernetes, not just in code, but in all sorts of other different roles in all sorts of different ways. And I think this really goes to show that open source is about community that goes well beyond just the code that you're writing and deploying. Now, you'll find VMware employees as SIG leaders, release managers, steering committee members, project maintainers, and we've even had the honor of our employees being KubeCon chairs, not once, but twice, and they've done an amazing job both times. Now, in talking with Dirk, Tom, and Purnima, I'm convinced that the same commitment and involvement that VMware is bringing to Kubernetes will apply just as much to the Salt community. And this isn't just maintaining the relationship between SaltStack and its community the way that it's been in the past. This is about expanding it, enhancing it, and really taking it to heights that we haven't seen before. Now, I've been at VMware for 2 years, like I said, and I think it says a lot that I'm still excited about the possibilities of open source and VMware when we work together. Now, we won't always get it right, but we're still learning and growing. And I think the great thing about open source is that you can learn and grow together. So, again, I just want to reiterate a huge welcome to all my new SaltStack colleagues and a huge welcome to you, the larger SaltStack community. I'm really excited to see where we can take this together as VMware, SaltStack, and, perhaps we'll mix in some Kubernetes over time too, of how we can find ways to really do amazing things together. Thank you so much.
I'd like to give a huge thanks to Mark and Purnima, BMW, and Joe. It's been a fantastic opening to what I anticipate will be one of our best SaltConfs. We have a fantastic array of speakers, events, and communication, which we're going to be able to have at this conference. Now, I'd like to also introduce a new community manager, a good friend of mine, Janae Andrus, who's going to be taking over from community management and who's going to be helping me moving forward to increase the communication that we have with our open source community. Now, I'm pleased to carry on the tradition that we have had since the first SaltConf and announce our SaltConf 2020 awards.
SaltConf20 is proud to recognize our 2020 award winners. This year's Salt Community Champion is Nick Hughes. The 2020 top contributor is Alberto Polanis. And the SaltStack Customer of the Year award goes to Scotiabank. Congratulations to all of our SaltConf20 Virtually Everywhere winners.
Now it's time for me to let you all go. Please enjoy the sessions. Please enjoy the roundtables, the contests, and everything that we've put together for you. And hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to see each other face to face yet again.
The SaltConf20 Virtually Everywhere keynote presentation has ended. A reminder for you, our morning breakout sessions will begin at 10:15. Thank you. The SaltConf20 Virtually Everywhere keynote presentation has ended. A reminder for you, our morning breakout sessions will begin at 10:15. Thank you.